Pragmata was not on my radar. I caught a trailer of it sometime last year, got a vague Death Stranding adjacent feeling from it, and moved on. Finding out it was a Capcom game surprised me more than anything else because this is not the type of game Capcom typically makes, at least not in recent memory. So I filed it away and I didn't think much about it after that. Then Steam Next Fest happened and I was browsing for demos to try. Pragmata had one available. I figured, why not? The demo runs about 20 minutes, short enough that I played through it twice. What I found was a game built around a mechanic I hadn't seen executed quite this way before. One that puts two demands on you simultaneously and asks you to hold both of them together under pressure. I came away more interested than I expected to be. The game is set in the near future. Humanity discovered a material called Luna filament capable of replicating almost anything as long as you have its data. A lunar research station was built around developing it, then one day all signals from that station go dark. A response team is dispatched and a massive lunar quake hits not long after they arrive. You play as Hugh Williams, a man in a bulky astronaut suit separated from his team, badly injured and found by a mysterious android in the form of a young girl. Her name is Diana and she was created using Luna filament itself. Together they're trying to escape a research station where the AI controlling everything has gone out of control. The demo doesn't give you much more than that, a couple of emails, a brief hologram, but it's enough to establish the tone of the relationship, and that relationship is the foundation everything else is built on. Pragmata is a sci-fi action-adventure shooter, but the way it's structured around Hugh and Diana gives it a distinct identity. The concept at its core is parallel processing. Two people, two roles, operating as a single unit under pressure. Hugh handles the weapons, Diana handles the hacking. He carries her on his back, there's literally a step built into his suit for her to stand on. And the two of them have to work in sync because neither can deal with the enemies alone. The enemies are heavily armored robots. Hugh shooting them directly does almost nothing, the plating absorbs most of it. To deal real damage, Diana has to hack the enemy first, which opens their armor and exposes a weak point. Only then can Hugh land meaningful hits. When you initiate a hack, a matrix appears on screen, a grid of squares with a green node hidden somewhere inside it. You unlock a cursor and navigate a path through the grid to connect to it. But the path you take matters. Scattered throughout the matrix are blue nodes. Route through them on your way to the green node and they extend the time the enemy's weak point stays exposed. Rush straight to the target and ignore them, and that window is very short. Plan your route and you have much more room to work with. There's also a third type to watch for, yellow nodes, which represent hacks. These are limited use items you find out in the world and carry into encounters. Routing through a yellow node activates the hack and applies a special effect on top of the hack itself. For example, Decode amplifies the damage Hugh deals while the weak point is open. You also have multi-hack, which causes a chain reaction, expose one enemy's armor and every nearby enemy opens up at the same time. You can only carry one hack at a time, pick up a second and you drop the first. So before each encounter, there's a real decision, what does this situation call for? A single tough target warrants Decode, a cluster of enemies warrants multi-hack. That one slot creates more tactical weight than you'd expect. Here's what makes it work, all of this happens in real time. While you're navigating the hacking matrix, Hugh is still in the world. Enemies are still moving, you can still take damage, hacking asks you to split your attention. Managing the matrix with part of your focus while tracking what's closing in with the rest. In the demo, most enemies are slow and deliberate, they give you room to breathe, to get some distance before you initiate. That kept the learning curve manageable and made the experience feel fair while I was still finding my footing. But it raised a question I kept coming back to. What happens when the enemies are faster, more aggressive? Because even with the slower types, there were moments where I was mid-hack, the matrix had my full attention, and something was moving towards me that I nearly missed. Not because the game was unfair, because I was genuinely doing two things at once. That tension was real and it was earned. Hugh's side of things has more structure to it than a typical action game, and it's worth understanding before the boss fights puts everything together. You have 4 weapon slots. The first is always your pistol, It has unlimited ammo and it holds 6 rounds before you need to reload, and it can't be replaced. The other 3 slots are for additional weapon categories. Attack units, which include things like a shotgun or a charged up pulse rifle, and tactical units, which are utility focused. The only one in the demo fires a spherical electromagnetic net that immobilizes anything caught inside it. The 4th slot was empty in the demo, so what fills it remains unknown. Every weapon outside the pistol runs on a limited supply. The shotgun gets 4 shots, and when those are gone, the weapon is gone with them. You'd have to find another one in the world. That scarcity is intentional. You're not swimming in firepower, and spending a strong weapon early might mean not having it when you need it. Checkpoints are called escape hatches. That's where you respawn, and in the full game, they'll connect back to a hub called the shelter, where upgrades and crafting live. The demo acknowledges those systems exist, but doesn't let you touch them, so how the weapon economy develops over a full run is still an open question. For healing, you carry repair cartridges, 2 at the start with a pickup called the cartridge holder bumping it to 3. Limited charges that refill at checkpoints. Movement gives you a sprint, a jump, a dodge, and a hover glide from his suit's boosters. There's also a perfect dodge that triggers a brief slow motion window if you time it right. I didn't get much use of it. The enemies were deliberate enough that a standard dodge covered most situations. One thing worth mentioning, my first run felt clunky, the controls didn't immediately click. By the second playthrough, the rhythm made more sense. The input stopped feeling like something I was thinking about. If your first impression of the controls is that they feel off, give it another run before writing them off. By the time the boss arrives, you have a reasonable sense of how each piece works. What the boss does is put them all under pressure at the same time. It's a large robot, significantly more demanding than anything before it. It charges, it fires volleys of rockets with ground markers appearing to show you where each one will land, giving you a window to reposition before impact. You're reading the arena, tracking the markers, managing your spacing, and at the same time, you're looking for a safe window to open the matrix and get a hack off. The boss doesn't give you much breathing room on either layer, both demands are live at once, and the margin for error is tighter. Deal enough damage and the boss staggers, opening a critical shot, a concentrated burst that takes a serious chunk of health. And if your hacking gauge is full, it builds as you successfully hack throughout the fight. Diana can trigger Overdrive protocol. Every nearby enemy's armor opens, they're briefly immobilized, and they take damage. And the fact that it charges through active hacking means the loop rewards engagement rather than passive play. The boss fight works, it's not long, but it communicates the design intent clearly. The 2-layer loop holds under pressure. That's what a good demo is supposed to show you. With all of that said, a 20-minute demo is a proof of concept, not a promise. What it doesn't show you is how Pragmata sustains itself over a full game. The only enemies you fight are slow and methodical. The upgrade and crafting systems are mentioned but not accessible. You're limited to 1 hack at a time with no sense of how that expands. Story content is minimal by design. None of that is criticism of the demo, it's doing exactly what it should. Make the core mechanic legible and give you enough to form an opinion. It does that well. But the questions that matter for the full game are still open. Will the enemy variety keep the hacking system from feeling repetitive over 15 or 20 hours? Will encounter design keep pushing both layers of the loop, or will it settle into something that the player can exploit on autopilot? And can Capcom deliver a story that holds up? Because if I'm being direct, that's been a weak point for them in some of their more recent work. Those are real uncertainties, I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. What I can tell you is where I stand after the demo. I went in expecting to spend 20 minutes with something I forget about by the end of the week. Instead, I found a game with a genuinely distinct mechanical identity, one that puts 2 concurrent demands on you in real time and rewards you when you can hold both together. The shooting feels substantial, the hacking creates a kind of tension I didn't anticipate, and Diana calling out, "Hugh, jump!" while I was buried in the matrix and about to take a hit, that's a small detail, but it points to something deliberate in how the companion design was built. She's not just a narrative presence, she's working in service of the gameplay, acting as a second set of eyes when the loop demands your full attention elsewhere. Pragmata releases April 17th, there are other games dropping around that same window and it'll have real competition, but this one earned a spot on my list. If Capcom can hold the thread all the way through, story, pacing, enemy variety, sustained mechanical depth, this could be a genuinely strong new IP for them. That's still a meaningful if, but the foundation the demo lays down is more solid than I expected.